We are back with the A3A Podcast.
We're back, baby.
I'm Walter.
I'm Justin.
Today we're going to cover some NFL.
Hell yeah, brother.
Probably a lot of college football.
Hell yeah, brother.
We'll talk a little bit about the... are we going to talk about the NBA? I don't think we would disclose that.
Just a wee bit.
Okay, and we're going to talk about the MLB a little bit, too, the ending of that.
Let's get it. Sorry, I got to bring the energy now that the Knicks not here. We just got to bring up the vibes, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no one's shitting in the mic this week.
Luckily, I didn't smell any of that. So I was okay with that. Whatever, man.
Anyway, let's get started. NFL. I gotta be honest. We discussed this briefly. I didn't do a lot of watching on Sunday, so let's just dive into our teams. I guess we'll start with the Patriots. All right. I was a little, not gonna lie, I was a little shaken up by this.
Shake it up in what way? What about this?
I'm just shocked, kind of. Like the Titans are a bad team, dude.
They are.
Titans are bad.
What sucked too is like Mason Rudolph kind of was able to move the ball on them pretty well, which it's freaking Mason Rudolph.
It's funny too because we made that joke the Saturday about like, oh crap, it's Mason Rudolph, it's not Lewis. Yeah.
So that wasn't great. He just kind of moved the ball on him, and on top of it, Tony Pollard ran for 128 yards. The Cowboys would be killing for him right now. They shouldn't have let him go.
Hey.
Yeah, so the Patriots defense didn't literally play too well. I mean, they only held 20 in overtime, but I think
3 turnovers won't help.
Right, true. So with at least from the offensive side, if I'm not mistaken, Drake May accounted for 300. I think it was like around 300 of their 316 total yards.
Yeah, so he had 206 passing yards and 95 rushing yards.
Yeah, homeboy can move, which is a very different thing for me. I mean, I did have 1 year of watching Cam Newton run around a little bit, but not
True.
Cam Newton.
I was gonna say.
I'm just used to Brady or trash ass Mac Jones standing in the pocket. So this is different for me. I wish he didn't have to run it so much because guys just aren't open.
I mean, he only ran it 8 times, so
yeah. He was scooting along, and with a few of them, he didn't really get down too efficiently. I wish he did.
He'll learn it.
Yeah, just got to give him time. But I mean, outside of that, they didn't really have much offense. He threw it 41 times and just.
I mean, Henry had 7 catches for 56 yards. I feel like that's hard to do. Yeah,
he's probably their best weapon too. Like they don't really have much else outside of him. Like Jalen Polk, I think had 1 target and no catches. Mm-hmm. I saw it on PFF. He's ranked as the 128th wide receiver out of 128 in the league. Yeah, not great, especially from a second round pick.
Sheesh.
Yeah, and they have Keyshawn Butte. I feel like is probably. He might be their best weapon outside of like Pop Douglas. Kendrick Bourne, he's just like whatever. He isn't really like contributing much, even though he did all right this week. But I think there's still reassuring signs from Drake May that despite their lackluster weapons, he's still producing and keeping them in games. Like I don't know if you saw his magician type play.
I didn't actually.
Yeah, I swear to God, he was running around for at least 10 seconds to end. Like this is the last play of the game. There was only like 3 seconds left. He's running around, and then he just chucks it up in the air for Ramondre Stevenson, and it falls perfectly into his hands to send it to overtime. So that was impressive for sure. But yeah, it's just like a one-man show, and I feel so bad for him that he doesn't really have much help around him, and the running game was just non-existent. Like,
the bright side, though, is he's still managing to do something with nothing. So that is a very big bright side.
So what I hope that they do in the offseason is like with a lot of these quarterbacks that go from the rookie year to sophomore year, they give them a weapon. Like Joe Burrow, they got Jamar Chase. Jalen Hurts, they got A.J. Brown, and they drafted Devontae Smith. Tua, they get Tyreek Hill. So whatever wide receiver is out there, whether it's via free agency or a trade, like just get you can't mess this up. Just give the guy whatever you can, because they've already done it once with Mac Jones, where like he had a really good rookie year, and they just took weapons away from him, honestly,
Yeah.
over the next couple of years, and they kind of just like left him to die, if you will. Uh, so I'm still hopeful for the rest of the season that they'll make it at least interesting to watch, which they definitely did this week with Drake May. Um, but I mean, it's a winnable game against the Titans, and they just couldn't pull it out.
Yeah. I think looking back, outside of the Texans, the 49ers, and the Jets game, they're all one possession scores outside
Yeah,
of those three
yeah,
games.
for sure.
So
Yeah, and they've had two overtime games, which actually is an improvement upon last year. Like where I think they played the Saints and the
yeah,
Cowboys in back-to-back weeks, and they gave up like 40 something points and maybe scored a three.
yeah,
They got shut out in one of them at least. So again, signs of progress. That's something, I guess. But
yeah.
I mean, on Patriots Twitter, they're already talking about firing Gerard Mayo and hiring the Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson to be the head coach. So that's where we are in Patriots land right now, I guess. Um, but you know,
I feel firing the coach right away is. I don't know why people think that's going to resolve every issue. Uh, there's a few years of like Bill Belichick's stubbornness in play here. I think
still, yeah,
lack of drafting and all that other stuff that he did differently. But I think that's kind of affecting them a little bit more than who the coach is right now. Also, like, give him a few years to get, the guys he wants in there, give him a chance to draft. I
right.
mean, holy crap. Like, how long has he had the job for? Like, I don't know when they hired him, but
At the end of last season, so not even a full year.
yeah, not even a full year yet. So give him a few drafts, give him a few years, and maybe, I mean, like I said, they have a few blowout losses, but other than that, they've been in these games. So a few more plays here and there, and I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, they just lack like attention to detail on a lot of things, and um, the talent obviously is missing, especially on the offensive side. But there's plenty of ways to improve the team. Whether it's and I think they have the most salary cap space next offseason,
Yeah.
and they'll probably have a high pick too. So I'm
And
kind of licking my chops at maybe
I was gonna say,
Travis Hunter or something.
so I was just gonna bring up the high draft pick. It's their schedule is kind of meh going forward. Bears, Rams, Dolphins, Colts, Cardinals, Bills, Chargers, Bills again. So
Winnable games though.
winnable games, but also like, do we want to be winning these games?
True. That's what sucks in this position. Like I've rooted for them my whole life, and I'm so used to them just like, oh yep, division championship, first round bye, cool.
I gotta
that's what we're
say,
hoping for. Now I got to root against them.
yeah, I'm in the minority when it comes to this, but I feel like the NFL should be a lottery like the other sports. I mean, it's a it's pretty much a death sentence for every like popular good quarterback coming out because you're pretty much always going to go to those teams that are just horrible. Like look at Baker Mayfield,
Right.
and now all of a sudden he's playing fantastic. Like they wasted how many years of his career? So I don't know. I think it could spice things up a little bit with that and keep it less of like, oh, the same teams are getting all the all-star players, but then they're pretty much driving them into the dirt every year.
Yeah, no, I think that's. I don't know if they would ever do it.
I don't think they would do it.
Yeah,
I think the NFL's too stubborn.
Right, but I think that it is a good thought because like the NBA, especially like they're the main. I don't know, does the NHL have a lottery? They do. Right?
NHL does lottery, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure MLB does not, but with the NBA, like they have had issues with tanking in the past, where teams like say, "Oh yeah, our best player's hurt," wink, wink.
Yeah.
So I
It sucks for people that pay for tickets too.
I know, yeah.
Think about it. Some people get tickets months in advance, and then they get to like, let's say, the Patriots versus the Chargers, and nobody's playing or doing anything because they're worried about a draft pick.
Right. No, it's not good for the fans for sure. But I think that would be interesting though, because like you see so many times with like, Bryce Young for the Panthers. Not a good organization. He was touted as like, oh yeah, he's a Heisman Trophy winner. He could probably maybe do something in the league, and then he goes to a crap franchise like that, and then his career is basically over in a year and a half. Right. So that would be a cool foil. If they were to do that.
Yeah. Are we ready to move on?
Yes. What about the Giants?
All right. Giants lose 27-22 against the Commanders. Giants are in very similar situation as the Patriots right now. Kind of at like, okay, what do we do going forward? Do we just tank it or try to win a few games? I don't know. I didn't see this game. It was blacked out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame them. Like I think the Bills were home, and then there was one other game that was on. But
the Pats and Titans were on too.
Yeah. I mean, there's an argument obviously for that one, but I don't blame them for putting either one of the games on or off, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's kind of the same old. The only difference is Daniel Jones threw his first touchdown pass at MetLife for the first time in 672 days.
Way to go, Daniel Jones. So proud of you.
Isn't that a wild thing?
That's
like
crazy. Like, and I think we talked about have like Notre Dame scored more touchdowns than them.
Zach Wilson has more.
Yes, Zach Wilson has more. Like,
Danny DeVito has more.
Yeah. That's terrible.
It's definitely a wild time. It feels like rock bottom. Like Daniel Jones didn't really play bad outside of like one fumble. Like 20 for 26, 174 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's what he does. Like sometimes he has good games, but he looks terrible doing it.
The consistency and like I was watching one YouTube page for the Giants. They were just like, he just has this dark cloud. No matter how good he plays, they will still lose because he just has that aura about him where it's just gonna get fucked up somewhere. And I was hoping they would just bench him for the rest of the year. I'm kind of nervous about him getting hurt and then that whole contract situation being a mess and a disaster.
They can get out of it right now, but
yeah, if he gets hurt, then they're going to be screwed.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping we just tank it and get a quarterback. I'm still worried they're sold on Daniel Jones, to be honest.
They can't be. Come on. Like,
I say that too, though. I say that too, but years. Like, wouldn't you just start giving signals like, okay, they benched him that one game towards the end. Like they gave him this whole game and he had that one strip sack fumble that I guess just wasn't paying attention, but that's been a problem in his career too. So I don't really know.
Like 5 years in though, you are who you are at this point. It's not he's gonna like. It's not like he showed a prompt. It's like look at an example, Kurt Warner, right?
Yeah.
So he comes in for the Rams. I think he came in for an injury quarterback, and then they go on and win the Super Bowl. And he played at an MVP level, and he did for like 3-4 years, and then he was a bum. He went to the Giants, didn't do too much out of the league.
Mm-hmm.
So Cardinals took a chance on him, ended up paying off because he had a good team around him and already showed that ability to play at MVP level.
Right.
We've never seen that from Daniel Jones. It's not like, like he did have that one year where like he was really good and obviously they went to the playoffs 1 year with him. But I don't think with that year you could say, yes, he is the reason why we got there. The reason that he got there is probably because he didn't fuck up that much.
So from that one playoff game, he played lights out. Had over 300 passing yards, 2 or 3 touchdowns or whatever. Used his legs.
Right.
And I think that's the thing that's most frustrating about this whole thing is he literally has it somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But he'll never be consistent enough to be an NFL quarterback.
Exactly. That's not like I don't think that they are in a spot where they're like, maybe no, they can't be because the inconsistency, but I feel like there's been far too much more bad than good.
It's not even close.
You had the 1 year, fine. right? And okay, he's injured here and there, but like with a majority of this, like he just has really bonehead mistakes. He didn't throw a touchdown at home in
The
over a
600
year
plus
or
days, yeah.
whatever, like however long it was,
Mhm.
and like they aren't winning, So I feel like I hope that they're like, okay, yeah, we're just writing this out so that we ride off into the sunset. Okay, thank you. You can be on your merry way, and then they can move on.
They both need to
Whatever else
change.
they can. Yeah, definitely.
Let's face facts. There is going to be a team that is dumb enough to sign Daniel Jones.
But here's the thing: maybe he'd be a good backup, right?
Yeah.
Like there are guys that are just better off as backups. Like I mean, look at Jameis Winston. Like when he was in Tampa, okay, he threw for 30 touchdowns, also 30 interceptions, and not this week, but last week he came in and played really good.
Mm-hmm.
He got. I'm pretty sure they had won, and like he kind of showed that okay, I can kind of do this, but it only lasts for so long with some of these guys, right?
Yeah.
They aren't able to do it on a consistent basis, but they're much better in like a spot start, or they come in later in the game.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
that's his destiny.
if he just cleaned up the mistakes, he might be a starter. But he's too far in now.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the mistakes he makes too are kind of just dumb. Like a few weeks ago, he had one where he was retreating back, and instead of just either taking the sack or whipping it out of bounds, he literally just throws it as high as he can in the air, pretty much a punt, and it's an interception. It's just kind of like year 6, you probably shouldn't be making that mistake.
Right.
That's something like a year 1 or year 2 quarterback makes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's just seen too much football, but
yeah.
I'm hoping this is it. I'd like to see him bench him. I mean, I don't think he's necessarily earned a right to finish the season, to be honest. Like if that's what they're kind of doing of like, oh no, he's kind of earned the right to just finish this one out. I don't think he has.
No.
So I'm hoping they just get him out. They play Drew Lock the rest of the season. They just kind of play loose and whatever. I mean, it's unfortunate too because we're talking about Daniel Jones, but they are wasting one of the best years by a defensive tackle ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dexter Lawrence has just been killing it, and unfortunately, it's going to get wasted. And that's kind of what happened with Saquon too. Like we had him for crazy talent, had him for all these years, and just wasted it.
Yeah. I mean, you watched him more than I did, and might be a good segue. But you saw his backwards hurdle, which I've never seen that before in my life. That was just insane. But every time I looked at their box score, he has at least like 150 yards. So you can speak better to this than I can, but is that kind of what you had with him when he was with the Giants, or do you think he might be playing his best year that he's ever had? Because like at least like from what I see, it might be like the best he's ever played.
If Saquon had somewhat of a competent O-line and somewhat of a competent quarterback that can kind of play off of him, like we can't just focus on Saquon because we can't get burned by the quarterback.
Yeah,
that's kind of what he has now. Although Jalen Hurts isn't playing the greatest this year, but he's better than Daniel Jones, and the O-line is better than the Giants' offensive line. So this has kind of always been him. Like just these crazy freak plays that you're just like, I don't understand how that even happened.
Yeah.
The backwards hurdle is nuts. Like you could see him looking back. It was almost like a decision of just like, well, fuck it. We're going to try this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I don't know. He's got to be one of the most athletic running backs I've ever seen. Just stupid plays. Don't know how he does it. And he did have a decent career with the Giants, like himself wise, not like team wise. Right. But yeah, that's just kind of been him. Like, I'm pretty sure I said before the season, like, watch, he's going to go there and kill it. He's going to completely kill it in Philly. Yeah. It just sucks that Philly waits.
Many yards.
Yeah. It just sucks. He waits until the Eagles wait until this year to get him and then stink. Because they probably lose a few more games without him.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, he's but here's the thing though. Like it's not like they stink that much because they're 6-2, right? Like this is I don't know if this is like just Philly fans, but they're winning these games not in like convincing fashion like they did early in the season last year and during their Super Bowl run, but like everyone's like, oh, they're terrible. I know Jalen Hurts isn't really like playing up to like the kind of MVP caliber he was 2 years ago, but like
Yeah.
they're still winning, you know?
Well, I think more of the problem is they're winning, and like you said, it's by a very small margin at times, but they did have that's preseason. So they beat Green Bay. I don't think Love was playing at that time though. In the first week, he got hurt that game. Then they lost to the Falcons, so immediately they play a decent team. Loss. They barely beat the Saints, who are coming off a 7-game losing streak and firing their coach. They lose to the Bucs, which is okay. I mean, they lose by more than one score, but they barely scrape by the Browns. They wipe the Giants. They handle the Bengals. So that's probably the most impressive win.
Right.
But even that, the Bengals,
even though they have a bad record, like Joe Burrow's playing,
right,
it's ridiculous right now.
Right. So now they have next. So yeah, here we go. They got the Cowboys, the Commanders, the Rams, and then the Ravens.
Yeah.
The next few games. So I think circle that Ravens game, and you'll kind of see what you're going to get.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think part of it too, like they're not winning these games in convincing fashion, but I think it's just like the dark cloud that surrounds Nick Sirianni right now. Just, it's not helping their case either. But
right.
If you looked at it, you'd think that if you just listened and didn't even look at like the record or anything, you would think that they're, in spot for like a top pick in the draft. But really, they're
right.
firmly in the playoff hunt.
It's weird because they're kind of like in the same position as the Chiefs are. It's just like, how are they like if you didn't see the record and you just watched some of their highlights this year, you're like, okay, they're like 1-6.
Yeah. Just like,
but they're not
like their stats and everything. Yeah. That's a good segue for the Chiefs too. Then they win again, or they 8-0 now, and it doesn't. I want to say it doesn't make sense, but it just does because it's the Chiefs. I guess I don't know how they keep pulling out these games. Like, and now Mahomes might be hurt. I don't know, but he's not playing that well. No, and I think I mentioned this last week. He's still up there for like MVP odds.
This could be totally. We're talking a lot about the players with the Chiefs. This could totally just be Andy Reid.
It seems like Andy Reid. I think you got to give
at this point
Spagnuolo too, like because the defense is like kind of carries them. They carried him last year.
Yeah, I mean at this point though, the Chiefs still put up 30 points though.
Yeah.
So it's
D-Hop kind of got it going too.
Yeah, I don't know what the future's going to look like if Mahomes is hurt.
Yeah, he did,
and especially last year, there was one Super Bowl year where his ankle was bad, but it was kind of more towards the playoffs and into the Super Bowl.
Last year, the year before, he injured it against the Jags, I think, in the playoffs.
Yeah. So now you're only halfway through the season and he's already kind of limping around. So it's like, how do you play it? Like you're 8-0. You don't want to necessarily just like pretty much give a game for whatever, but like if I'm the Chiefs, I'm thinking probably more long term. Like, do they, even if he's, let's say he's 80%, 70, 80%, do you just bench him for the Broncos game?
Okay. Good question. But do you think, like, yes, they may have the overall call, but like, do you think he's going to want that? Because I remember like with what you just talked about with tweaking his ankle against the Jags, he was not coming out of that game. He didn't. Well, no. I think, if I remember correctly, he did come out of that game, and Chase Daniel finished it maybe. But the next week, he was still having those issues, and he keeps like waving them off. And even the Super Bowl, he's waving off the training staff like he's staying in, and he does not want to come out. So I think he just has that fire in him to just keep playing. But it is worth questioning.
So I agree with you. I don't think it's gonna be as easy as just telling him like, "Hey, sit out." But he's got to see the bigger picture, and like if he's limping around, he's not going to be able to be full Patrick Mahomes, because then what do? You don't overrush him. You keep him in the pocket, and you just keep him there. And I mean, easier said than done, but
yeah.
But what makes Mahomes special is, like the play he tweaked his ankle on, where he's running to the side and he literally just pops one over the guy's head for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Like that's what makes Mahomes special. So at some point, some of these players got to see like, hey, this is a benefit for the team. I will be much better if I heal this prematurely than keep running on it and running on it and wear and tear on it.
Yeah, this is something that only a team like the Chiefs could even consider, though, because they're 8-0 and they have that like playoff pedigree where they kind of know who they are in the playoffs and they can trust themselves. So like, say this were Josh Allen and the Bills, I don't think that they can do that, because they know that they struggle in the playoffs too, and they might be running away with the AFCs now, but they're still seeding up for grabs in terms of like home field advantage.
Yeah.
So like it's just like the Chiefs, for lack of a better word, privilege.
It's unique. It's unique to the Chiefs.
Correct.
And if there's anyone that could have a backup quarterback ready for a game or two, it's Andy Reid.
Yeah, I know. And we may have talked about this before, but isn't it crazy, like the trajectory of Andy Reid's career, where like he's in Philly forever, makes it to one Super Bowl, and then just kind of lingers around for years, comes to the Chiefs. They do pretty good. Like they make the playoffs a couple times, and like no one really trusts him in a playoff game. And then all of a sudden he's out here winning 3 Super Bowls, which like, he's obviously a good coach, because he had these teams like in the playoffs and in playoff contention for years, but he just couldn't get over the hump until he had one of the greatest.
Sometimes you just need a change of scenery, or maybe the owner and coach relationship is a little bit better,
or getting lucky in the draft with Pat Mahomes too.
Yeah, because
that helps.
I mean, Mahomes finished his senior year at Texas Tech with, I think, like a very mediocre record. So
5 or something.
Yeah, very mediocre.
And he had the luxury of having Alex Smith too.
Right, true.
So it's credit to them for kind of having that plan in place, and it's just impressive that Andy Reid has been able to stick around this long and really kind of reshape his legacy.
His career is totally different now.
It is, absolutely. Like and before Pat Mahomes started playing, I feel like his Hall of Fame candidacy was like, maybe, I don't know. Now it's like, yes, firmly, no doubt.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt. All right. I didn't add up our picks from last week, but we'll make our picks this week, and we'll kind of get around about maybe next week of where everybody's at.
Okay. I don't think we did bold predictions for last week too, so maybe we can.
Oh yeah, we did not. So we'll go in order here. Bengals at Ravens.
I think this might be one of the best Thursday night games that we have this year, because even though the Bengals,
all the other ones suck.
Even though the Jets Texans ended up being like somewhat okay, I guess, kind of, sort of.
It's one okay, but having a good game is one thing, but having a game with like that could have stakes to it and
like this one,
potential playoff implications is different than 2-2-6 teams.
Yeah. So with this one, I was kind of back and forth, because like Cincinnati is really playing well. Like Joe Burrow, like he just like the Steelers 7, he looks pissed off, even though he threw 5 touchdowns last game. But it just seems like right now the Ravens are a buzzsaw, and it's at Baltimore, so I'm gonna go Ravens.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Ravens too. They kind of already had their slip up. What was it, last week or the week before? They had a loss.
The Raiders, week 2.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So I think it's gonna be a Ravens win. I'm daring to say a blowout, to be honest.
I wouldn't doubt it. The first one was close. The first one was that one that went to
yeah.
Overtime,
Yeah.
Oh, they lost to the Browns. That's who it was. The Ravens lost to the Browns. I forgot about
Right. All right. Here's the game of the week. Giants at Panthers.
In Germany, in Munich.
Mm-hmm.
I'm I don't want to pick this game. This is something. I'm just gonna go Giants.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't really.
There's not really too much to it.
Panthers, yeah.
I have a little bit more to it. Okay. So, a few weeks back, me and you had a debate who the worst team in the NFL was, and I said, wait until the Panthers and Giants play in Germany. The Panthers will win the game. I still believe that. I am picking the Panthers to win the game.
Okay, I can respect it.
All right. Broncos at Chiefs.
Stop asking.
Yeah. Yeah. We can't just move on because that's obvious. Steelers at Commanders. This could be a fun one.
This is, and I think I'm going Steelers, mainly because I'm not too sure if Jaden Daniels has played many like elite defenses quite yet in his early career. I think it may be close, and primarily because I'm still not trusting the Steelers' offense. So
that's what I'm questioning.
Yeah, I'm still going to go Steelers just based on the defense.
Yeah. The Commanders just gave up 2 touchdown passes to Daniel Jones at home.
Right, exactly, which he doesn't do. That's right.
So this has got to be a prime Steelers pick right now. So I'm going to also go Steelers. Vikings at Jaguars. Vikings as well.
Pearson is fired after this game. Waiting for it.
Falcons at Saints. This is another easy one.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to go Falcons, but new coach theory. Since Dennis Allen got fired, I'm always like, side eyeing those.
No.
Listen, I'm gonna
don't say.
Listen, I'm gonna pick the Falcons, but this does happen a lot where these coaches are fired, and then they win the next week because the vibes are so much better.
I believe it. I've seen it plenty of times too.
Yeah.
I think the Saints are that bad.
They are that bad. Flat out.
I think they're that bad. So I'm gonna.
Derek Carr's out here trying to get his wide receivers killed.
Falcons convincingly.
Okay.
49ers at Buccaneers. 2 injury-riddled teams that kind of really need the win.
Yeah. I'm just going to go San Fran just because they're off of the bye. I think McCaffrey may be playing. Possibly.
This one's kind of tough because, the Bucs are obviously down wide receivers, which is a shame because they're having a great year.
Yeah.
They're coming off of a loss.
Tough one too.
I don't feel great about this, but I'm gonna go Bucs.
I'm still gonna go Niners, but I can see the Bucs winning too. Like I just have an image in my head.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield hyped as hell on the field afterwards.
That and then
I've seen it so many times with him,
That and then obviously, as you know, we got the election and Bosa having that crazy incident.
Bosa might be a little distracted.
There's a lot going on in San Fran.
Yeah, you could say that.
With Kyler Murray, it's Call of Duty. With Bosa, it's the election.
It's the election, right.
Next game, Bills at Colts.
The Bills.
I'm gonna go Bills again handily. I think it's gonna be multiple possession game. Patriots at Bears.
I wish I can go the Pats, but I guess I'm dejected from the Titans game, so I am going to go Bears. It'll be cool to see number 1 versus number 3 overall picks, Caleb Williams and Drake May.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just not confident in the Pats at all.
I'm going Bears only because it's home.
Fair.
I think it's going to be a lot closer than it says. The line is -6. I think it'll be I'll be 3 or less points. I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be over a touchdown. Yeah.
All right. Titans at Chargers.
Chargers, who are what 5-3 right now?
Yes, which I honestly don't even know how they're 5-3.
I hate to say it, but it's just Jim Harbaugh. Wherever he
Yeah.
goes, he wins. He cheats in certain
He
places,
cheats.
but no, really though. Like when he went to the Niners, they just started winning.
Yeah.
He goes to the Chargers. Like, well, here's the thing too, though. With the Chargers, they go from like a Pop Warner coach in Brandon Staley, who doesn't know what the hell he's doing for several years, despite them having all this talent, to actually having a coach. And I think that's just plain and simple. That's the difference.
Yeah.
You know,
I could agree with that. I'm gonna go Chargers too.
okay.
Line is 7.5. That seems a little extreme.
The Titans are bad though.
Titans are bad. Yeah, that's true. But
it's not like the Chargers. I mean, yes, they have a winning
Yeah.
record, but it's not like the Chargers are world beaters either, though.
all right, Eagles at Cowboys.
Eagles. Bad. I
I'm
don't know.
also going Eagles.
I'm not sure if Dak is playing in this game too, even though clearly it really isn't making much difference.
I was gonna say I don't think it's gonna make a difference.
Do we? Is McCarthy on the hot seat? Could this be his last game if they lose to the Eagles?
You know, it's funny you asked that because I think earlier today I was talking to a coworker and I was like, I don't even know where the Cowboys go from here. They got all the talent. They had like, granted, it's not.
They do have some injuries too.
Yeah, they have some injuries, but like, granted, he's not the greatest coach, but he does have a Super Bowl win, right? Okay, so you got to respect that. So it's just kind of like, I don't know what the fuck they do at this point. I have no idea what they do.
Yeah, they're kind of in a bind with their
Yeah.
contracts too.
Yeah, so it is what it is, but I'm going to pick Eagles. Closer than 7, though.
Okay.
Closer than 7.
I can see it.
Jets at Cardinals.
Call of Duty's been out for a week, so we got to factor that in. Rodgers will be coming off of RFK not winning the president, so got to factor that in too. I'm going to go Arizona, despite the Jets coming off a win. I'm not confident in it.
I thought for sure the Jets weren't going to win another game this year. They just looked down. They really looked just down, and they looked bad.
It took an abysmal CJ Stroud game for it to happen.
Yeah. I don't like this game at all. Give me the Cardinals just because they're home.
Okay.
I don't like it at all, though. Yeah. The line is 1.5, so
they're not so confident either.
Probably the game of the week, Lions at Texans.
I'm gonna go Lions, and I don't know if it's gonna be close. Like before the season, Houston was regarded as like, okay, this could be a Super Bowl team, right? But like they really haven't played like it, and they have.
I'd say the Lions have played like the Texans were supposed to play.
Yeah, absolutely. The Lions they're set pretty right now. They are doing fantastic.
Yeah,
but like with the Texans, Nico Collins, I don't think it's going to be back. Stephon Diggs is out for the season, so they're kind of dropping like flies on offense for the Texans, and I'm really feeling the Lions right now. They're just playing at an all pro level across the board.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Lions, and I also was having that same thought as you. I don't know if this game is gonna be close.
Yeah,
I really don't. I don't.
Especially coming off the Houston, the terrible play and against the Jets last Thursday.
That's the only kind of reason where I'm like, bounce back maybe. But it's not an easy bounce back. Like they got the worst team to bounce back against right now. I know. So yeah, I'm just gonna stick with the Lions.
Let's mention another thing too with the Lions. Everyone's like, oh, they play most of their games in a dome. Like they can't. Then they basically handle the Packers quite easily.
I can't stand that argument. 14. I can't stand it. Like yes, they play in a dome, but they also play outside the other 8 games that they play or whatever it is.
Not all of them necessarily, because like they're on the road against the Texans, so they're playing inside.
I mean, yeah, but I'm saying is like, okay, the Packers, they play outside, yeah, but then they're going to other places. They're going to Minnesota and Detroit that have domes.
Mhm.
So it's not like you're standing outside the whole time.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about like weather with teams traveling, I think it's more like West Coast coming
Yeah,
to East Coast
yeah,
in the winter,
or like
like
or the
the
Dolphins going to Buffalo or something like that.
how about to Kansas City last year when they had that like
Yeah,
-32 game? Like
yeah,
that is where this shows up. I
that's
don't think necessarily like the dome's going to
like
outside.
people in Detroit are used to being cold.
Yeah, right.
And then we wrap up Monday night with the Dolphins at the Rams.
Rams. I am surprised that the Rams are still.
They have quickly pivoted.
They have, and the West, the NFC West is like deadlocked. Like
Yeah.
either 5-4 and 4-5, most of those teams, and Rams are still in it. You know, just despite their injuries.
I'm gonna pick the Rams. I haven't watched the Dolphins since Tua's back. Have you watched at all?
I haven't watched a ton. They've been in both the games that he
How's he played though?
From what I've seen, like the first game he was a little bit more careful. Second game he was running a little bit more, and you're like,
don't do that.
Don't do this.
Don't do that.
But he's kept him in it, you know, like right up until the end. I think they might have lost on last second field goals in both games. So, you know, he's probably playing better than Skylar Thompson would.
Is Puka Nacua suspended by any chance?
I don't know. Why would he?
He was throwing punches in the last game, so I don't know.
I don't know. Not sure.
I haven't heard anything, so I'm assuming not.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I'm going to go for the Rams. If Nacua was out for some reason, I'd be inclined to pick the Dolphins for some reason because the Rams just didn't look good without him.
Yeah. How about bowl predictions? Just one prediction for the week.
All right. Are we going to go same game? Do you want to pick a game where we can?
Let's just do anything random. You pick a game. I'll pick a game. I got it. I still got to think.
All right, you. I gotta find one, so you go.
Okay. I am gonna say that Philly wins by 3 touchdowns against Dallas, and Saquon runs for 200.
Honestly, I can believe that. I can believe that second one for sure.
Yeah. I can see it happening. Like the Cowboys are really like that. I think Dak on the sideline, you know, they're just reading his lips, but I think he said we fucking suck. So
yeah, I did see that.
Not good in Dallas right now. So and then Saquon is like we just talked about earlier, just playing like his balls off. So I think he's just ready to beat the brakes off of another division foe.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. I'm gonna. I have 2 I can go with. I'm gonna pick for the Bengals and Ravens. The total amount of points that are assumed right now are 52.5. I'm going to up it to 72.5. I think it's going to be a lightning match.
Okay.
Between Burrow and Lamar and Derrick Henry and all that, I think there's going to be a plethora of offense in this one. All right, that's what I'm going to go with. I like that one.
You're writing those down?
I don't have to because I could just come back and listen.
Okay, you can do that then.
Yeah. I thought of that last week. I was like, I'm
glad it wasn't just down. like you know, you readily thought of it. You had to.
Yeah, no.
Oh wait, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, I was just kind of like. Anyways, that's the NFL. Any last thing on the NFL?
No, I don't think so. We can move on.
Moving on. All right. College football. I don't even know where to start here.
Let's start with our game that we went to, maybe?
Yeah, we could start off with that. Army Air Force. Justin, you came to this game with me.
I did come to this game with you.
Yeah,
It
you
was
can
my
take it
wink,
away.
wink first game there at Mikey Stadium, even though it actually wasn't because I went to the BC one last year and it was a fucking tsunami. Anyway, yeah. So we went to West Point this past weekend. Saw Army Air Force, and before the game, we didn't know that Bryson Daly was not going to be playing, and Walter looked like someone shot his puppy or something, like John Wick. When he read it on his phone, and I could just it was so funny. I could see the cogs starting in his head, like as he's reading. He's like, "All right, so Coleman's gonna play, and then they'll have to adjust this in the game plan, and like, all right, like like it'll be a closer game, but it'll be a more impressive win if they win with their back." So he was just saying all this stuff out loud too. Luckily, he cooked for us beforehand and made some fucking banging egg sausage burritos. But it was honestly kind of a fun for me to watch, just because I feel like I go through it so many times, like Ohio State and Patriots and all these other teams. Just the descent into darkness of like thinking through all the different scenarios. Like it was fun just seeing you go through it. I know you didn't like it, but
I gotta say, man. Earlier in the week, I told like a few people, I was like, I've never felt so good going to an academy versus an academy game before.
right.
Like I've literally never felt so good. I was
Even
like,
during too, you kept saying that.
I was not in the slightest bit worried at all because Air Force is that bad this year. Not in the slightest bit worried. I'm not gonna lie though, when I looked down and saw that notification, one, it was kind of like a double take because I was like, is this from last year or some shit? Because it just came out of nowhere. He didn't get hurt during the game. It ended up being a foot infection, which I'm assuming was from doing field work for, the Army. I'm not gonna lie though, when I saw that, I was like, oh fuck. It had to be this game because, if it was any other game, to be honest, I would have been like, all right, it's fine. But Air Force, like, you had to fucking do this for Air Force.
Come on.
It's the one game, like, Army loses to Navy, it's like, all right, we'll get him next year. Fuck, right? Army loses to Air Force, and that is all I think about for the entire rest of the year.
Really? So compared to Army Navy, you have more of a reaction to that versus
I hate Air Force with a burning passion, dude.
more than Navy though?
Way more. It's not even, and
No way. What?
And 9 out of 10 Army fans will say the same thing.
Really?
There has always been this stigma where, like, Army and Navy are like the brothers, and then that one guy tries to bully one of the other brothers, and then the brothers team up and just kick that other dude in the nuts. That's Air Force, just that random guy.
I feel like with at least from an outsider's perspective, like Army Navy, like yes, it's a bit of rivalry, but there's like also a bit of respect there.
There's a large sum of respect there.
Yeah.
I mean, in 2018, Army ended up winning off of a ballsy move. Instead of just punting the ball away on 4th down at midfield, Monken was like, fuck this, go for it and get the first down. So they did it, and they went out to shake hands, and Air Force guys just started flipping Army players off. So like literally all you see in the middle of the field is them doing this, and Calhoun, their coach, is a giant a-hole and D-bag or whatever. Most Army fans have much more hate towards Air Force than Navy.
Interesting. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I cannot stomach them. Honestly, all I worried about when we got that daily news was like, it can't be today. It cannot be today. Of all days, it cannot, because I would still be sitting here just disgusted. And that's just kind of how it is.
But despite that, I mean, I don't know about you, but during the game, like, I really didn't feel too worried about Air Force. Like, yeah, they can kind of move the ball, but like once they got towards the red zone or even on the Army side of the field, they couldn't really do much after that. I think Army had 3 picks.
Yeah, 4th quarter.
Very timely sacks. They had 6 sacks in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, on offense they couldn't really move it as well because without Bryce Daly it's a little bit tougher. Considering he's a Heisman candidate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but really, I thought like if we're not even like talking about the game necessarily, like I thought the experience was just pretty cool with having the guys parachute in prior
Mhm.
to the game, like seeing that, seeing the prisoner, quote unquote prisoner exchange
Mhm.
between the schools, the like tip of the cap from the helicopters coming in.
Mhm.
It was just, I really enjoyed going. Like it's cool going to these different places. Like we went to Ohio State last year, went to Boston College this year, and obviously went to again my quote unquote first Army game last Saturday, and it's just cool seeing each school's like traditions, right? Especially in a rivalry game, and it's a little bit more amped because it's Air Force, and on top of it, Army's undefeated and they're ranked. So it was all in all a really really cool experience. I gotta say.
Yeah. Another reason I was shitting my pants a little bit was because last year in this exact game, the rules were pretty much completely reversed. Air Force was in the top 25. They were 8-0, and Army was they didn't only have one win. But they were like 3 or 4 wins to whatever amount of losses. So I was like, oh gosh, what like don't tell me it's just gonna be a flip-flop of last year.
Yeah.
But then when we got to the game, I was like, no, they're fine. Like you said, like they were able to like keep the ball and move it 60, 70 yards, but they couldn't score a touchdown.
No.
So it was like, why am I sweating a team that can't even score a touchdown? So,
right.
Oh, really quick, this is one reason I sent you the screenshot of why I hate Air Force more. So the game ends. This Air Force guy on Twitter goes off like, "Oh, Navy's a better football team than Army. Army couldn't really do anything. Navy's going to kick the crap out of them in December." Well, that same day, Navy lost to Rice.
Yeah, not a good look for Navy there.
No. So, and it's like less about Navy and more about like that Air Force guy of just like you don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah. You stay in the Mountain West. You stay out there.
Yeah, there was one lady Air Force fan that was like, if they had Daly, they would have won by 60, which I firmly believe. I don't think it would have been even close.
Yeah, no, definitely.
All right, moving on. Ohio State and Penn State. So, what's funny is Ohio State was playing at the same time Army was. And in both those games, we were both getting a little bit nervous at one point. And then like it started coming down for us at the same time too. It was like, oh, okay, we're good now. We're good.
Yeah. And then on top of it, like I'm at the Army game and I have Bleacher Report pulled up like to watch like the play by play. Like I can't pull up the actual game on my phone because I don't have that good Wi-Fi. And like for the first half, I'm able to it comes in somewhat consistently like each play, and then like I go off of Bleacher Report and then come back on, and I can't fucking load it again for like this whole second half. So I'm like sitting there watching Army, and I'm like, okay, this game's a little anxiety provoking, but like Ohio State is playing Penn State right now, and that's really anxiety provoking, right? So it was a tough time. So after seeing the result and watching the highlights afterwards. There was a couple takeaways that I had. The first off was the defense played much better than I expected, where they did not allow an offensive touchdown for Penn State. And they had two drives that ended in the red zone. One was a Davidson Ignoson interception in the back of the end zone, which was phenomenal. And then the next one was turnover on downs, right? So they were able to hold them, and this is probably like third, fourth time that they have stopped the team like in the red zone as they were like driving down. So I think the defense is making some progress. My biggest takeaway though is the running game. So after that, I believe it was after that fourth down stop, they had well Penn State was in the red zone. They had 5 minutes left on the clock, right? And over the past couple weeks since they lost, I think his name is Josh Simmons, their offensive lineman, they have not really been able to run the ball. So at that point, you're thinking like, oh, they really got to burn some clock here, and they burned all 5 minutes of it. They kept converting on first down. They ran in with Judkins. They ran in with Henderson. They ran in with Howard. And he kept running the clock. And it was just such a relief to see that they were able to do that.
My big thing is they were way better on third down this week than last week.
They were. Yes, absolutely. Yep. And
way better.
Really, like this game probably should have been like not as close as it was, because Howard did have a pick six. Really wasn't really terrible throw, honestly. And he did have a turnover as he was going into the end zone on a run. The guy punched him down and it rolled out of bounds and it was a touchback. So yes, there's
also only 2 penalties for 15 yards.
That's a positive too.
Yeah.
So with like Howard definitely needs to clean up the turnovers. It's not.
Yeah.
We can get to them later, but it's not like Carson Beck for Georgia, who is averaging like 2 picks a game these days.
Yeah.
But this game really could have been much further out of reach for Penn State. So it's kind of just business as usual for Ohio State and Penn State. But regardless, it is still very much a step in the right direction. Going on the road, playing Penn State in a very hostile environment, and
they kept themselves in the race.
Absolutely, and let's say another thing too. They were down 10-0 in the first quarter of in this game.
Yeah,
Ohio State was, and they came back and controlled the game the rest of the way. So I really think it's a huge win. And on top of like going to Penn State, it was their biggest game ever. They had their highest attendance ever. So I liked Will Howard after the game. He said it wasn't Happy Valley, it was Sad Valley. They were playing, so I was like, all right, I fuck with that. But yeah, so I'm just hyped that they won this game.
Yeah. Quick thought, because I literally just thought of this right as we started talking about it. Last year, Ohio State Penn State game, wasn't that score 20-14?
20-12. So 1 point off.
20-12.
1 point better.
You know what's funny? Last year's Air Force game was 23-3.
Whoa.
So both very
similar. Oh my
very
God.
Similar. That was like I literally just thought of that. Yeah. And I was like,
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, but Penn State's defense kind of seems to never really be the issue.
Yeah, I mean, there was actually one play that I was impressed with Will Howard, where like it was on 4th down. He's rolling out Abdul Carter, who I think is like he's projected to be like a 1st-round pick for Penn State, kind of like the Micah Parsons type of archetype. But he's like on him, like Will Howard, he kind of jukes him, gets around, and then throws it for a 1st down. So that was like watching that play, I was like sweating it out. Obviously not in the moment, just like
right.
Watch it, but. Yeah, the defense never seems to be it. And we've touched on it before in past weeks, but Drew Alar doesn't do it for me. Just 12 of 20, 146 yards, 1 pick. He's just he doesn't have it to me. And to be fair too, though, they don't really have the weapons on the outside either. Like they do have that. I think his name was Tyler Warren, the tight end, who's quite good. But outside of that, receiving wise, I don't know much. So. Maybe not all on him, but really, if you want your, I don't know how many stars he has, but you want your like highly touted quarterback to still elevate the guys around him. So he just doesn't do it.
I feel like there's more quarterbacks this year than ever that are just straight up mediocre.
Yeah,
more than ever. I don't know what's really happening.
Well, maybe it's the transfer portal and NIL. There's so many things that could be contributing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You can't really pin it down though, because there's so many things that changed at once that it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Moving on. Really quick note: Minnesota beat Illinois.
They did. Yep.
So I'm pretty sure Illinois will be out of the top 25 now.
I think that they are. I didn't check the rankings, but I'm pretty sure they are out. Yeah, I don't see him on here.
A few other noteworthy games. Vanderbilt completed the Alabama sweep by beating Auburn.
Yep.
Oregon
1954 for them, I think, that they beat both.
Yeah, that's straight up insane.
Yeah.
Oregon beat Michigan by multiple scores. Not a surprise there. I'm saving that one for last. Texas Tech beat Iowa State by a point. Let's see.
lost.
South Carolina beat A&M, so A&M's pretty much
Handily too.
cooked.
Yeah,
A&M's going to be cooked.
But I think to kind of talk about that game briefly too, like it really wasn't too close, and this happens so often where these teams they play like a top, however, like whatever team, top 15, top 10 team. 1 week they beat them, the next week they have a much lesser opponent, and they don't get up for it, right? That's happened so many times where they are riding the high of a huge win, and then they just teeter off after
right.
that. And just another example of it.
Yeah. The one game that stood out to me the most, to be honest, was SMU and Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was going to be a super close game, and SMU is just impressing me more and more every week. I mean, they do have one loss, but 48-25 against Pitt, that is kind of shocking. I was expecting a good game there. And everyone is kind of just forgetting about SMU. Everyone's just kind of, they're in the back of their head. Guilty. Yeah.
Yeah. Forget about it.
They are like that one team, like in all this conference shift, that have actually like picked it up. Like Cincinnati and UCF have not lived up to what they've been.
What are SMU is in which conference?
They're in the ACC.
Oh, they're in the since when? Is that
since this year? This year's their first year.
What were they before?
Oh, before they were in the American.
That's what I thought. Okay, so in the ACC now.
Oh, wow. Yep.
Okay.
So, and like I said, Cincinnati and UCF were supposed to be these big time schools that moved from the American over to the Power Five, and it has been SMU. Not even close. All right, now we can backtrack a little bit.
Well, actually, let's stick on that just for 1 second, because now I'm thinking about the ACC championship game too.
Yep.
So right now it'd be Miami and SMU because Clemson lost again.
And that's very winnable for SMU.
That was going to be my point, because Miami, I don't think that they've. I could be wrong. They might not have played a ranked opponent all year, and yes, they've had some blowouts, but like we've talked about this, you and I, before, where some of these games, they're like really like coin toss kind of games for them, and it might go one way or the other, and they end up winning it. So I don't know if this is like a possible last year Florida State situation where, like, yes, they're killing it all year, and then they play like an actual quality opponent, and they don't end up showing up. So I think that, I mean, I forgot where Miami's ranked right now. Number 4. But the ACC championship game is probably going to be their main test if they can get there and not, remain unscathed throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah. I'm just kind of shocked, to be honest. I wasn't expecting a quick start into a Power 5 like that, but good for them, right? Good for them. Moving on. Florida and Georgia. More particularly Carson Beck.
Yeah. They're winning in spite of him. Right.
I'd say lately, because overall the season he's got 2,300 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions.
11's a lot.
11 is a lot, especially for 8 games. Think about that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know.
But I don't know what the problem is. You can't say Georgia's not loaded with talent, because we all know that they are.
Yeah, I think maybe just like, I don't know if think about this last year with Georgia. He was
hold up. This can't be right.
Hello?
This game should have been a blowout. Have you seen Florida's passing game in this game? Collectively, they were 9 for 30, 113 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Their starter was 7 of 22 for 66 yards.
See, and this game was close. This game was 20-20 at one point. I was watching it on our way back from West Point. Like, that's kind of like I'm glad that you brought Georgia up because, like, if you're the number 2 team in the country and you're playing that, it should not be tied
No.
like late into the
And
third quarter,
and
whatever it was.
if not for a big interception, Georgia had, I don't remember what quarter it was. I was watching the highlights. Yeah, I don't remember what quarter it was, but Georgia had an interception that helped Georgia out too. So without that, who knows how much closer this game is.
Yeah. That's that. It's just like Georgia. Georgia has these good wins. Obviously, they beat Texas, right? But then in these games that they really like should be playing much better in, they just don't. Like they were very, very close to losing to what was it, Memphis earlier this year,
Yeah.
right? Obviously, this one to Florida, and they came back against Bama. They were down and out in that first half, right? So
I'm beginning to think that first half of Alabama was Georgia's real self, and then the second half was Alabama's real self. They both showed their colors in each half.
Fantastic point. Absolutely, yes. With the first half, like Carson Beck I think he had 3 picks the first half.
Yeah.
And then like Alabama just couldn't shut the door in the second half, and that's just kind of how they've been, right?
Yeah.
So, even though Georgia is number 2 in the country, I still think the SEC is wide open. Like there's
wide
just
open.
Too many teams in contention, and I'm like hesitant to not even go with Georgia. I
mean, Tennessee is knocking on the door.
They're still in it. Yep. And Texas only has the 1 loss, so they're obviously around. And I gotta look to see because
really quick, let's go over the last 4 games for Georgia right now.
That's what I just wanted to do. Yep.
Yeah. So they're at Ole Miss. So I know Ole Miss can be very hit or miss, pun intended.
Yep.
But Georgia's also very hit or miss lately.
Yeah.
Then after that, they have Tennessee at home.
Mm-hmm.
Then they get a break with UMass, and then they play Georgia Tech, rivalry game, so you never kind of know what goes on that.
Georgia Tech that isn't having the best year, but they are still a quality opponent.
Yeah. So
yeah, the like remaining schedule for the SEC is kind of bananas. So
I mean, if Georgia can drop the next 2 games easy.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think they will at least drop one of them. I
agree.
So like if we're looking at the other SEC teams, Alabama plays LSU this week, or what their next game? I don't know if it's this week. It is this week. Let's check.
Interesting. Right now, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say Texas is like toughest game probably coming up. It was Texas A&M last week of the season, but it's at A&M. But so each of these, basically, my point is
that can be a trap game for Texas too, because at this point A&M's done, so they're gonna want to spoil something.
Right. So, but I mean, they only have 2 losses. They might not be done if because my point in bringing this up is like all these.
I'm just saying from a like committee standpoint of like just because if they lost a close game to South Carolina, I'd kind of be in that same wavelength, but they lost by 24 points. I
think they're still in it from the sense of like if they somehow it shakes out that they're able to.
They're in it because no other team is stepping up.
Fair, but I guess my point in bringing all this up is like all these SEC teams have at least one more really tough game against like a ranked opponent, and it's still so much up in the air. Who's going to be like the leader of the pack?
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be Georgia, if I'm being honest.
I'm not too confident in them either.
I'm going to say in football, I like silent killers, especially in college football. Tennessee has just kind of seemed to be really quiet this year, but then like you peek behind the door and they're fucking number 7 and they're 7-1. It's like, oh shit. So
who is their loss to?
Actually,
they beat Bama, didn't
they? Who the fuck? Arkansas. Oh. They had that really weird 19 to 15, 19 to 14 game or some shit.
So Tennessee has Georgia and then Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt, which like at the start of the season we would be saying, oh, that's Gotta be careful of that one, right? But yeah, I mean, it's tight. It's tight in the SEC. The SEC.
Yeah, tighter than ever before. Thanks,
Yeah,
Nick Saban.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams currently have one conference loss. So
I feel like that's unheard of.
it's nuts, man. So it really like that, like, and then at least what my screen. Oh, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4 have 2 losses.
Mm.
And I don't think those are going to be the only teams with 2 losses coming out of this. So, I think that's probably the most interesting conferences to like who can end up in the conference championship.
Yeah. It's funny. We're gonna get a good measuring stick for Georgia because Texas is now playing Florida this week.
True.
So that's kind of going to be a good, especially back-to-back weeks too. I'm trying to see. So obviously we have Georgia, Ole Miss this week. There's not really a boatload of good games on. Alabama and LSU.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I am a little bit back and forth on that game.
I think I'd pick LSU. I'm just not in Alabama, and it's at the Swamp.
Yeah, but it's
not Swamp.
But it's Brian Kelly.
What's it called? Death Valley.
Yeah, Death Valley. I know what you meant.
Death Valley. Yeah. I don't want to mix up with Florida.
Yeah, I just don't trust Brian Kelly though.
Why'd you have to remind me about it? That's true.
And that's kind of it for the really big games, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm expecting Ohio State to take care of business.
Hopefully they didn't get too hyped for Penn State, and then another like somewhat decent one, Colorado, Texas Tech. That could be something.
Yeah. Why does ESPN have Army ranked number 25?
That is false. They are not.
That's not right.
Like the AP versus.
Usually it goes by AP, which they're 18th. Interesting. Whatever. Yeah, I think that's really it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we can move on. We are gonna go. What do you want to do? Basketball? Want to do NBA?
Quick. Yeah, okay. There isn't much to talk about. So, one thing that I wanted to bring up that kind of blew my damn mind earlier today when I saw it. There are only 2 teams in the Eastern Conference with a winning record thus far through the season.
That's wild. That's
right. That's crazy.
Shit.
Yeah. So it's the only 2 teams are the Cavs, who are undefeated 8-0, and the Celtics at 7-1.
Cavs are 8-0.
Cavs are 8-0. They actually have quite a good team. I mean,
I'm just surprised because I'm not really used to basketball having like going on tears like that. 8-0.
Let me try to think about this. So it happens more than you think. If I remember correctly, in like 2017, the Celtics started the season at like 18-2.
That's wild.
They went on like a double-digit win streak. They might have done something like that last year too. Anyway, yeah. So the third team and fourth team are the Heat and the Knicks at 3-3. So prior to the season, it was believed that the Western Conference was gonna kind of be the one that's like, okay, this could shake out any kind of way, but it's seeming like at least the start of the season, it's the East. Teams are just beating up on each other so far. But I think the biggest surprise is the Bucks being at 1-6. Despite having Giannis and Dame Lillard, things are not going well. So I don't know if you knew about this, but last year, probably not even halfway through the season, they had.
Oh shit!
What?
Pause on NBA really quick. I just found out why Army's 25.
Why?
I forgot. It was the first playoffs released.
Oh yeah, that's on Tuesdays. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
What's
So
the top four?
Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, Miami.
Go Bucks. Okay.
I think Army might be the only Group of 5 school on here outside of Boise.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, it looks like that. Okay, I just wanted to. I literally just popped up on my phone, so I was like, "That's why."
I didn't click on it when it popped up on mine. But
Okay.
Anyway, so with the Bucks, last season they were like 24-8. They had a really good record. I forgot what their coach's name was. His last name was Griffin. They fired him. They were like top 4 in the East, and then they hired Doc Rivers. And from there, they basically went like 500. They like weren't really like clicking. And so far this season, 1-6, not really clicking. And Giannis is playing, really good basketball as he always does. And it's kind of shocking to see them this bad this early. Again, it's only a few weeks into the season, but they just aren't playing good basketball right now. They don't really have a crazy amount of depth. But you expect a team with Giannis and Dame Lillard to not be this bad so far. And it's not even like they're very injured either. So I'd say that's like the biggest surprise. In terms of the Western Conference, kind of surprised that the Suns start so far. I mean, I knew they'd be a good team, but I didn't think 6-1 to start the season kind of good.
Are they traditionally like that good, or
I wouldn't say like top 2 seed in the West, because I don't know if you know who's on their team. Let me just this will be a weekly thing. Guess who's on their team? Can you name one player on the Suns?
No.
Are you sure? One is a very, very well known player that has bounced around.
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant, yes, that's the one. He's on the Suns, along with Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. That's like their big 3, right?
Bradley Beal still plays. I feel like he's old as shit.
Still plays. Yes, he. I mean, Durant is older, but Beal.
Yeah, but Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant.
Sure. Beal has a ridiculous contract where it's like $50 million a year or something crazy like that because he signed it with the Wizards when they had literally no other moves. They're just like, yeah, here, take money. We need somebody to put on billboards. But they didn't really play too much as a trio last season, and I think they have been playing together this year. I'm pretty sure no one's really hurt. They're off to a hot start. I don't know if I see it being sustained. Just because I feel like it's inevitable. Durant will have an injury, or something like that will happen.
Right.
But yeah, they're probably my not biggest surprise, but a decent surprise in the West. No other crazy news other than I think. Let me double check it. Joel Embiid still hasn't played this year, and he got a 3-game suspension.
I just saw that.
Yep, he spent 3 games for shoving a reporter.
Isn't this the guy that said he wouldn't play 2 games in a row too?
Yep. So arguably,
him and Anthony Richardson should go join a club somewhere.
Yeah, arguably the punishment should have been playing 2 games in a row instead of the 3-game suspension.
You know what? You play for the whole league,
right? Yeah, really. Yeah, but no real other crazy stories. There is actually one other thing that I wanted to mention to you because I thought it's just funny to see how the game has kind of evolved. So let me just try to pull this post up. This was a post from the NBA about all-time 3-pointers made.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see if I can find it. While I'm trying to find it, who do you think has the most 3-pointers of all time?
Player wise or team wise?
Player.
The most 3s of all time?
Still plays.
Is it? I'm gonna have an obvious guess. I'm gonna sound like a fucking noob. Is it Steph Curry?
It is Steph Curry.
Okay, yeah.
Right. So he is number 1 with 3,758. Ray Allen is number 2 with 2,973. So he's gonna get 1,000 more. Probably.
Yeah.
He's ridiculous. But the next few, James Harden still playing. Damian Lillard still playing. Reggie Miller was the original most of all time, and that was 2,560. Right. Then we have Klay Thompson, Kyle Korver. Do you even know who Kyle Korver is?
Yep.
Okay.
He was like I used to play for the Bulls.
Yeah, there you go. So he's like a specialist. LeBron James is next, then Vince Carter, Jason Taylor. So like guys that played a really long time. Okay, we go further down the list. The reason that this post was posted because Buddy Hield. Do you know who Buddy Hield is?
No. Not
exactly. He is number 20.
He honestly sounds like a guy that was playing in like the 20s.
He's not. He wasn't playing. Well, in the 2020s, yes. But he is number 20 all time on the three-pointers made list. And that just goes to show how drastically the game has changed. Where, like, dudes are just chucking up threes.
I was going to say, when we were watching the Celtics-Knicks game, they were talking about how, like, it's played from the outside in nowadays and not inside out.
Definitely, yeah. So just to give you like a little bit more background on Buddy Hield, I believe he played 4 years at Oklahoma. If you're going to the NBA and you're going after 4 years, like that's unheard of. Like you're basically like one and done or nothing essentially. Like if you're going to make it in the NBA. So he started out in 2016. He was 4th in Rookie of the Year voting, and has no other like even award voting anywhere ever. He did have 1 year where he averaged 20 points, and that's as most as he's ever averaged, which like top of the league is like 30 plus, and then like pretty good is 20, but like what was he playing for that time? Sacramento's, like they weren't really that good then, so he's a good player on a bad team. But just the fact that this guy, I mean, like clearly he's carved out a role for himself in the league where he's been playing since 2016. But just like this guy is 20th all time in 3-pointers made. It just goes to show like how much the game is.
That is pretty nuts.
How crazy it is, you know. So yeah, Buddy Hield. That's a good trivia question for you.
Buddy Hields.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna remember that.
I know you won't.
Buddy Hields.
You barely remember things that you need to.
Yeah, Buddy Hields.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all I got for the NBA.
Okay. Not much going on in the NHL, so we're not even gonna that I know of at least.
The Bruins suck. That's pretty much all I know. They're very
So we'll just go right into Lakers Dodgers. Listen to me. I'm still in the NBA.
Yeah.
Yankees Dodgers. I watched probably two games. I think I watched 2 games, which is the most baseball I've ever watched in my life, outside of going to a game.
Yeah. Good for you. Way to expand your
mind. Yeah. I mean, I realized baseball is much easier to watch when, let's just say, how can I say this? Nope, not when the stakes are higher. When something else is higher.
Anxiety?
Mm-mm.
I don't know what you're getting at.
You should know what I'm getting at.
This isn't a sexual innuendo, right? I don't.
Nope.
Just say, I don't know, man.
I can't. I don't know if I could say it because it's going to go on YouTube and Spotify.
All right, then forget about it. Then I don't know.
You do know.
You're gonna make me say it where you get banned on YouTube? Yeah, move on. Just make your point.
I did make my point. That was my point. It's much more. I'm able to watch it much better when.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I get
it. Yeah. You get it now.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So, did you watch like the what was it, Game 5?
I actually did not. I was too busy doing something else. Don't ask me what it was, but I was doing something else.
Okay. Yeah. So I was like just kind of keeping like half an eye on it. Like I kept checking the score. It was 5-0 Yankees. I was like, oh geez, here we go. And then I saw that it was 5-5. I was like, hold up, wait a minute, what the hell happened? Yeah, and that's where they had the inning where they just snowballed with Aaron Judge missing a ball, like an easy
I'm not
fly
surprised.
ball. Yeah, no, it wasn't even like I can't find it. Like he's looking up towards the
I
heavens.
I saw like the replay of it in that whole inning that just went disastrous, but
Garrett Cole didn't cover
they kind of
first.
looked like they stopped trying to. Like the guy wasn't really chasing the ball too hard, and he was just kind of like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, very
So,
like dejected and everything. Right?
Yeah, which is strange.
Yeah, and for Red Sox fan, woo, great, the Yankees lost.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't like the Dodgers either, but whatever. But at least for the Yankees' sake, it's not like they lost to a lesser team. The Dodgers were pretty much projected to win, like from the rip of the season.
Yeah.
Right now, just because they have just so much talent. So I think it's impressive that the Yankees at least got there, right? I mean, they everyone wants to point to the like lesser opponents in the AL, but still they trucked right through them. And they at
Let's
least put
face
up a fight.
facts. I think everybody knew the Yankees rather play the Mets.
Oh, 100%.
In that,
yeah.
Everyone knew that going in. Everyone was hoping that it would be the Mets.
Yeah, and it's just it's the same old song and dance with the Yankees where, Judge doesn't play well. They don't really have like a ton.
It's the same thing for all fucking New York teams, dude.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the Rangers, like Zibanejad and Panarin. They all disappear for the playoffs. Not anything in sight of like a point or anything, and they just get paid all this fucking money for nothing.
Right. Especially like in baseball too, where they're just getting
and it's like for the other players, it's like, why am I here? I'm getting paid less than that guy, and he just jack shit.
Yeah, right. So Dodgers winning 5. Ohtani wins his title 1 year after he leaves the Angels and is out of mediocrity.
That's actually nuts.
Yeah, but do you know Ohtani's like I forgot if we talked about it or not. His like cap hit, well, not cap hit, but like his salary each year.
No.
Have we talked about this now?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay, here we go. So, Homie got like a $700 million contract. Okay.
I think I have heard that. That's nuts.
So, you would think, oh, he's getting paid at least $50 million a year. Nope. He got paid $2 million this year. So what they did was they deferred the money. Where, okay, yes, you have a $700 million contract, but you're going to get that. You're going to start getting a majority of that in 2034 or something crazy like that.
I feel like baseball contracts are so weird like that. Like a lot of them are just like that.
Right. So, like, it's kind of, I think, unfair where they're able to do this. And the Dodgers are already stacked. We talk about it where they have 4 former MVPs now, right? But they did that so that they can add more around Ohtani right now so they can win a championship, which they did. But I just feel like it's such a stupid loophole that benefits all these teams that just have an outrageous amount of money.
Yeah, then the big markets.
Right. And there's no salary cap either, so it's just like, okay, how much money do
spend what you want
to spend? Exactly, right. There might be like taxes here and there, like a luxury tax or whatever, but I don't like it. And now it's being like floated around that Juan Soto from the Yankees, excuse me, he's on a free agent, and like he's basically gonna go to the highest bidder. So it's being floated around that he's gonna get somewhere close to Ohtani, maybe not as high because Ohtani's generational talent, not that Soto's not necessarily, but So and whatever team he goes to is probably gonna play that same kind. Well, maybe not because Soto seems like he wants his money right up front. But I don't like the acrobatics that they can do in baseball. Like it just doesn't seem as fair for like the lower market teams, and it kind of dilutes the product, if you will. Like, okay, all the best players for former MVPs, like I said, are just on the Dodgers, and then but you have like 2, 3, 4 of the best guys like on the Yankees, and it doesn't necessarily like guarantee like getting to the World Series or anything like that. We see like random teams make it all the time, but really like throughout the season, I feel like it really just dilutes the product where there's not like a ton of talent like throughout the league. And it just, it doesn't sit well. Maybe just because I'm pissed off that the Red Sox don't spend money at all anymore. It's ridiculous.
Well, I think it's just the thing where it's like it plays into pay to win kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't even have to put the effort of like structuring a team or anything like that because you can just throw money at them and then boom, there's your team.
Right.
It's not like the NFL where you have to strategically like go about your roster and figure and piece things out. It's just kind of like if you have the money, throw it at them.
Yeah, well, it's like too with the MLB, the draft, like basically, like at least to me, it doesn't matter. Like there's so many times where like you draft guys and they don't end up on your team. Like Kyler Murray was drafted, Russell Wilson was drafted.
Mhm.
They ended up playing in the MLB, and like you draft these. So like there's a bunch of like Red Sox prospects. Let me think: Roman Anthony, Kyle Teal, Marcello Mayer, like all these guys that are like, oh, they're the real deal. Wait till they come up. I've been hearing that for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
And it's like, okay, when I get they have to develop.
I'm waiting now.
Over 3 or 4 levels of baseball, like single A, double A, triple A, and then whatever else.
Which is kind of crazy if you ask me, because I feel like baseball is one of the sports you can like go find like a batting cage and go better yourself pretty much by yourself on a regular basis. Like that in basketball.
Yeah.
Because you can get a court and a ball anywhere.
Yeah. It's like, well, I mean, part of it too with baseball is like some of these kids come out of high school and they just go straight to ball, or like they come from like the Dominican and come and play here. So it's definitely different from like football, basketball, where you have guys that contribute day one, like to the pro team. And yeah, it's just a different sport. And like I think that also plays into why baseball may be lacking in terms of their marketability, if you will, like their popularity, where the NBA draft, it's important, like with the lottery we talked about earlier. Not this previous year, or not this year, last year, with Victor Wembanyama. He's going to be the clear-cut number one. Let's see where he's going. Okay, the lottery matters, right?
Yeah.
And it's exciting. And then the draft is, at least the first few picks of the draft are exciting. Same thing with the NFL. With the MLB, it's in the middle of the season, too. Nobody cares.
Yeah, I think you get a lot less with like prior exposure to the players, too, because like obviously this is an exaggerated number, but there's like 10 people watching college baseball when there's 20,000 watching college football. You know what I mean? It's a much different.
It's just the popularity of the sports at the college level, right? And I think part of it too, like you make a good point on that, but probably Paul Skeens was pretty like well known with one of these recent drafts, but like probably the most hyped player headed into an MLB draft was Bryce Harper, because I think he was playing in high school and hitting like 500-foot home runs, like he was like hitting freaking bombs as an 18-year-old. But other than that, it's like, there's not really like that much hype around it, too. Now I don't bring all this up to just like shit on baseball more. I like to kind of compare the sports and just see where some sports are capitalizing on their setup and where other sports can kind of like improve. Like we talked about the NFL, like if they were to do a lottery, I think that may improve the product and maybe improve how some of these teams make out in the draft, where like these quarterbacks aren't going to just like terrible franchises all the time.
It would also force more trades because those bad teams got to get into that top spot.
Right. So like I think it's kind of fun to just kind of dabble into each sport and see where some are going right, some are going wrong, and you can kind of mix and match some of the stuff. Not that it's ever going to change what the sports do, but So and just back to baseball briefly. I don't know if you saw, but I think Garrett Cole was staying with the Yankees too.
Yes.
But that's.
It looked like Saturday everyone was going to end up jumping ship, but then it kind of got reeled in a little bit.
Yeah. At least from my perspective as a Red Sox fan, I think I can't say I'm happy they made the World Series, but like with Aaron Boone, like he's been on the hot seat for years, and they just like haven't got rid of him. That's kind of what the Yankees do. They just keep these managers forever. So maybe this buys him a few more years.
Probably will.
to stick around, even though I mean, you don't watch enough, but like the Yankee fans I talk to, they're just like, I can't stand the guy.
Yeah.
Just make the stupidest calls and all that stuff. But yeah, so now we head into the cold days of winter, and baseball is barely talked about anymore.
Well, at least football's there to take us until that really dark time where nothing's on, like that month or two.
Yeah. Well, there's some basketball. It starts to up a little bit. March Madness.
Yeah, true. All right. Finish up the episode. Let's just briefly touch on the games that we're going to be watching or excited for this weekend. Justin, you could start.
Yes. Obviously, Ohio State, Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State is going to Purdue, and I believe they are favored by a lot. So hopefully they can lay the smackdown. Pats Bears, like I said earlier, Drake May and Caleb Williams dueling it out. We'll see how well he does in that. Again, it's at least having Drake May in there. It allows me to get excited to watch the games and not just be like, oh yeah, they're definitely going to lose, and I have nothing to look forward to. I think that's pretty much it. I've been trying to get into. I think I told you I've been trying to get into international soccer. Liverpool won 4-0 today. I was able to watch that a bit at work, so they play on Saturday. Maybe I'll try to check that out. And a little dabble of Celtics and Bruins here and there. I'm not sure what they're playing, but yeah. How about you? What you guys going on?
Well, on Sunday, I'm not getting myself up. Well, I'll probably be up, but I'm not going to waste my time with the Giants and Panthers game, unless I'm that bored and I just need something to put on the TV.
Yeah.
And then Army's playing North Texas, who's 5-3, probably Army's biggest game this year so far.
Any word on Dale yet?
No, Monken said today it was a little too early to tell. I feel like it's going to.
Last week too, they had to say it an hour before the game.
Yeah, but problem this week, it's away, so it's going to have to be like a Thursday, Friday kind of decision. Again, I'm not that worried. The biggest game of the year, but I'm not too worried. I think they'll be fine. If not, then I'll just go fuck myself, but whatever. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, cool. That's it.
All right, and I guess we will see everyone next week. Hopefully, Nick is back. He remembers that it's Tuesday.
Got to put an alarm in his phone or something.
Yeah, put it in a calendar event. All right.